Alrighty, what is up, peeps? For everyone watching the replay, yes, you do need a journal, but not till the end, but still have it handy. Excuse me, today we're going over emotional processing and grief. Emotional processing contains a lot, like it's just a big umbrella. But essentially all the stuff that we don't want to deal with, the stuff we don't want to address when it comes to our emotions, our identities, our struggles, our mental health, all that fun stuff. Don't feel anxious about it or worked up. It's not as deep as I'm making it sound, but I am touching on some things that a lot of us as humans tend to avoid or suppress. And that's the biggest point of this all, okay? If we want to eventually turn into the best version of ourselves, our future self, our highest self, then these things that I'm about to discuss are non-negotiables on your healing journey or personal development journey, whatever you want to call it, okay? So let's jump right the fuck in. I'm gonna share my screen and get going with you guys. So today on Canva, we have some beautiful graphics, if I can find them. There we go. All right, I'm gonna get rid of your beautiful faces so I don't get distracted, and we're gonna get right into it. Okay. So again, reiterating, today we're talking about emotional processing and grief. Emotional processing is dealing with any type of emotion that comes up. When you hear emotional processing, I don't want you to only think like depression, sadness. It could be anything that you're avoiding feeling. Some people avoid feeling love, right? So think about it in that way. Like, what are you trying to avoid feeling? What are you maybe afraid to feel? What parts of yourself are you maybe not comfortable with? That is what we're talking about today, okay? So it's not only the deep, dark shit when it comes like depression and stuff. It is everything under the umbrella when it comes to emotional processing. Alrighty? So let's just get going so I can get you guys out of here on time. Someone's not muted and I can hear it in the background. Can you guys make sure all of you are muted, please? Would appreciate you. What's up? All right, so on the agenda today, we're going to go over a few things. One, how to properly grieve. Okay? Because a lot of y'all are doing it wrong or you're not doing it at all, which is the problem. Two, how to tap back into grieving after suppression. What I mean by this is, let's say you dealt with a breakup or someone passed away that was very close to you, and this happened years ago, and you did not feel any of it. You just pushed it down, you suppressed it, but it's something that you have to address if you ever want to move on with your life, right? So that's what I'm talking about when I am touching on that. Next is misalignment in dynamics. I will explain that a little bit deeper later, obviously. And then lastly, self-respect, because a lot of y'all don't have it, and I'm really sick of it. If I do nothing after today's call, I hope to instill some self-respect within all of you, okay? We need peak self-respect. Not, well, I got a little bit in this area. Peak self-respect, because that is what you deserve and that is what you are worthy of. Okie doke? All right, let's get right into it. So, how to properly grieve. Now, there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. And then there's also this, this theme that we see a lot, which is there's no right way to grieve. That is true, right? Technically, that is true. But when it comes to grieving, a lot of people have their own paths, which is, oh, I'm going to temporarily feel a little bit when it immediately happens, right? When the first shock hits, when that first wave of emotion hits. But the rest of it, I'm going to push away because I need to support other people or I need to show up for other people, right? When we are choosing to avoid processing and grieving, what we're doing in the process is we are abandoning ourselves and what we need in the moment, right? I'm going to talk about self-abandonment a lot here, even though that's a call in and of itself. But when it comes to grieving, and guys, even if you're like, well, I don't, there's no one that's recently passed away for me, we grieve people that are alive as well. I'm talking friendships, people that you have to cut off because they're not treating you well and they're treating you with no respect. That is still grieving, right? You can Google the definition of grief if you'd like to, but that is still grieving, even if that person is alive and you have chosen to get rid of them as far as being a part of your immediate circle. You're still grieving, okay? So this does not only apply to if you have experienced death or loss, okay? That is the biggest part I want you guys to get here. Now, when it comes to grieving, this is what most people typically do. I will say unintentionally a lot of the time, right? But most people typically suppress or try to find the fastest route to not be in pain anymore. I can definitely attest to this. I have everything I'm going to tell you guys not to do. I've done it before, which is why I can tell you to not make my same mistakes, right? But the biggest thing is most people are trying to find the fastest way to not be in pain anymore, right? And so it's this concept of if you have this agenda and you are solely focused on point B, you're like, I need to get there, I need to get there, whether that's, success or a point where you don't feel pain anymore. If that's what you're hyper focused on, your constant hyperfixation is only pushing that success point further and further away, right? So plot twist, a lot of people think that, well, I'm just going to suppress these emotions so I don't have to feel them. When in reality, that's just going to come up later. It might be months or years down the road, but it eventually will come back to inevitably bite you in the ass. So you're not actually achieving the goal. You're just pushing the actual goal, which is healing, which is release. You're pushing it further and further away by attempting to avoid it. Okay, I've seen people try to suppress emotions my entire life. Sometimes people can get away with it for years, but like I said, eventually it will come up. You cannot ignore it forever. Okay, we can only choose to be unconscious for so long. So, like I was saying, trying to find the fastest route to not be any pain anymore. The intention behind this, typically, this particular path, is people are afraid of the depth of grief. That is very, very normal. It's actually very, very common, right? When I say the depth of grief, I mean, if you've ever experienced a very big loss, again, whether they are alive or passed away, if you've ever experienced a big loss, you know how deep that pain can get, right? You know how detrimental that can become. I'm letting somebody in, sorry. You know how detrimental that can become to your mental health. And sometimes there's this fear of, what if I become succumbed by these emotions? What if I can't pull myself out of this grief, of this processing? What if I become so sad that I become depressed and I can't go on with life? What if that happens? That is typically the biggest fear when it comes to wanting to avoid and suppress these emotions, right? Because a lot of us don't have faith and trust in ourselves that we actually do have the capacity to pull ourselves back out, whether that be alone, because sometimes that's going to happen on a healing journey, or with other people in support. We just don't have enough faith in ourselves to know that, hey, regardless of what I go through mentally or emotionally, I know that I had the capacity to pull myself back to the top. And that's where that fear of depth comes from. Most people don't want to feel it because they don't know how deep it can actually get. Or on the flip side, they know because they've experienced depth of emotions before and they don't want to go back to that place. When in reality, you will hit a very deep rock bottom when it comes to grief and just processing emotionally. You will hit a rock bottom, right? But once you hit that rock bottom and you heal from it, what you've done is you've established a new rock bottom that's actually higher. Does that make sense, right? So like, let's say you have your first heartbreak. We'll just take that one for example, okay? Because this is still grieving, even though that person is alive. You have your first heartbreak. Let's say you're in your early 20s or something. Your first heartbreak hurts worse than anything else you're going to experience in life when it comes to heartbreak, right? It's going to hurt worse than the partnership you have down the road because it's your first time experiencing such deep pain, especially when we have in our minds this a lot of times, right? Especially when we're that young. I for sure thought I was going to marry my first boyfriend. Ridiculous, right? We have this concept that, oh, well, this person is going to be my everything. They're going to be with me for the rest of my life. We're going to do all these things together. We're going to have all these adventures, right? So when that's stripped away from you, you feel like your livelihood is almost taken away from you, right? That is how the first heartbreak feels. Once you've felt that and you've hit that rock bottom and you've actually healed from it, not suppressed it, but you've healed from it, rock bottom is no longer that low. Rock bottom is up here now. Okay? So every time you feel your emotions and you process them, whether you're grieving someone who is alive or passed away, every time you go in and feel your emotions, you are increasing your capacity to deal with hard shit. You are increasing your capacity to not sink below, right? Every time you go through it, your rock bottom gets higher and higher and higher and higher. And this is why we do not want to avoid our emotions, right? Like a stock chart. Yes, exactly. Higher highs and lower lows. So the more you try to suppress it, right, the deeper the pain is going to be. The more you allow yourself to feel it, the bigger your capacity gets. You widen your net, so to speak, right? So you can feel deep things without letting it completely ruin you. I personally am at this phase in my life. I almost like, it might sound messed up and kind of kinky, but I actually love processing my painful emotions. I enjoy it because I know that the next time I get out of that, my new rock bottom is going to be a lot higher. And it's going to keep going higher and higher and higher. And eventually I'm going to get to a point where I know, not believe, Because there's a difference between believing and knowing. I know that I can get through fucking anything because I actually have seen rock bottom. Okay. Does that make sense, guys? I just want you to realize that the more you allow yourself to go deeper with yourself, you actually are increasing your capacity to deal with more shit. Okay. Some of the most happiest and, peaceful and joyful and content people in the world have experienced the most grief. And it's only because they go there every single fucking time with their emotions instead of pushing it away, because they know that rock bottom gets higher and higher and higher, and there's nothing that I cannot handle now. Okay, this is why it is so vital and a non-negotiable to actually feel everything that is in your mind and in your heart, whether that's something to do with grief or not, just some, processing in general. This is why we want to actually prioritize it. That's why I do it for a living, because I know the power behind it. It's not simply just, oh, I'm going to cry my eyes out and then, I'll just go back to therapy next week and I'll cry myself out again. No, it's how can I deepen my capacity? How can I feel all the shit that I've been hiding from for 10, 15, 20 plus years? That is emotional intelligence. That is growth. That is personal development. It's not feeling your emotions. Not feeling your emotions, I would argue, is a weakness. Not even argue. I know. Try to fight me on it, right? Not feeling your emotions is a weakness. So the deeper you go with yourself, the more you open your heart up, the more you open your mind up, the more capacity you have. The biggest issue with people when it comes to emotions is they don't have enough capacity. That's literally it. And the only way to stretch that is to go through more shit. Okay. And when I say go through more shit, I don't mean like set yourself up intentionally for failure. I mean, go through your emotions more. Address all the shit you've been avoiding. Okay. Now, coming back to grieving in particular, there is no right way to grieve. There is no one blueprint that's going to work for everyone, right? Because the way this person deals with grief is going to be very different the way this person deals with grief. So there is typically no one right way to do it. No, that's not a real thing. But there are non-negotiable steps that you need to go through in order to fully grieve that person or that dynamic. Does that make sense? So it might sound confusing. It's like there's not actually a one-size-fits-all blueprint, but there are steps that you absolutely have to go through to make sure you are grieving and releasing and processing. Okay? Again, doesn't matter if this person is alive or dead. You go through the exact same steps. Okay? Everyone's grieving journey will be very different depending on past experiences, trauma, obviously, it's my favorite word apparently, emotional awareness, and then belief systems, right? What you believe about yourself, other people in the world. So everyone's journey is going to be very different when it comes to processing emotions and grieving effectively, okay? And then again, just reminding us, right? Like when we are grieving, you're not only grieving that person, you are also grieving a future that you will never witness, right? And a version of that person that you will never get to meet. So it's a lot deeper. Like that's why that is why I hate when people try to like, kind of push off, the deep, dark, nasty emotions. Like when your friends are going through it, it's like, oh, you're so strong. You're going to be fine. You got this. It's like, shut the fuck up. I know that, but that's not helping me grieve a person I thought was going to be my everything, or someone I thought was going to be there for the next 10, 15, 20 years, right? You are also grieving a future. You are grieving experiences that have never been had. You are grieving emotional experiences that you'll never have the capacity to have, right? You're grieving so much versus just one singular person. You're grieving experiences. You're grieving an identity that you thought you would live out and that other person would live out together as a union. It goes much deeper than just, I'm sad, okay? So I want you to remember that whether you're dealing with something now when it comes to grief, or you're going to deal with it in the future, or something you've dealt with in the past that maybe you haven't addressed fully, you are not only grieving a person. Yeah, Mike gets it. Okay, just a few non-negotiables when it comes to grieving. Amar, you got to be like my pupil on this one. She's went through all of this and she's fucking killing it. I'm just going to shout her out really quickly. But grieving non-negotiables. 1, do not avoid the pain and emotions. Please. You are only going to do yourself a disservice in the long run. Okay. You might eventually get to a point where you're like, oh, I got this. I can easily ignore them. Okay. Come talk to me in a year when it comes to bite you in the ass. Number 2, schedule intentional grievance time. This is probably the biggest thing that most people don't do that actually leads to faster healing. Not to say you need to have an agenda and try to get to point B faster, because that's not what I'm implying. But it does set you up for better success when it comes to a timeline as far as healing and grieving. Because what a lot of people do is, instead of feeling the feelings, right, we'll just go, we try to get back to our regular routine as fast as possible. So it's like, oh, I don't have time to feel that. Well, I can't break down. I have to be strong for everyone else. Well, I still have to go to work. I understand all of that. And also, no, you don't have to be strong for everybody else, because that's not your job. But if you don't intentionally schedule grievance time, it can easily fall to the wayside. And you're wondering now why 3 years have passed and you have not properly grieved the person that passed away. When I say grievance time, guys, I mean like literally just once a week. You know, if your schedule is that tight, which I doubt, bi-weekly, you're setting intentional time, like an hour, where you are undisturbed. You're not being stimulated by screens, no TV, no phone, no music. You are with yourself and your feelings. Like, I am sitting down to feel the sadness, to feel the grief, to feel the depression, to feel the anger, to feel the frustration, because the only way that you're going to get rid of it is to feel it. Wow, shocker. I know. That's the only way, right? The only way to get over it is to go straight through it. We've heard that saying a million times, and it directly applies to grieving specifically. Bare minimum, that part. Bare fucking minimum. Number 3, acquire support. Can you heal alone? Sure, you sure can. But you're going to feel like you're drowning. You are going to feel like you are suffocating. Okay. So acquire some support, whether that's a coach, a mentor, family members, your best friend, community groups. They have online groups for everything at this point. So you don't really have an excuse, and a lot of them are free, but you need support to get through this efficiently, especially if you're new to experiencing your emotions or you're new to grieving. You should not walk that line alone. That's a hard one to walk alone. Mike, shut up. 4, work on adjusting to your new reality. A lot of times the biggest harsh, kind of light bulb moment is, oh, the way I did life before while this person was in my life is not the way I'm going to do life now that they're gone. Again, whether they're alive or passed away, it does not matter, but you have to actively work on adjusting to your new reality, because let me not get ahead of myself. I'm talking about that on a later slide, but you want to adjust to a new lifestyle, right? There might be some routines or some habits that no longer apply, right? Let me feel in that space, not fill in the space with something else. Let me feel in that space, right? Sit in the emptiness. Let's say you guys used to go out on date night every Saturday, and now you don't have anything to do for Saturday. Don't fill in that time block immediately. Feel in that time block. Sit at home. Be intentional. Schedule grievance time. Feel that shit, because the first thing we always want to do, all of us as humans, when we don't want to feel something, is we fill that void with something else, right? Whether it's another person, whether it's food, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's distracting ourselves with screens, right? Or stimulation. But we want to fill the void, when in reality, we need to feel the void, right? That is where most people mess up. Okay. And then lastly, implement somatics and cognitive tools, please. When I say somatics and cognitive tools, I mean things like regulating yourself, deep breathing, shaking, tapping, dancing, screaming into a pillow, punching your couch, some shit like that, right? Those are somatic practices that release stored energy, which is just emotions, foreshadowing, from your body. Okay. And then cognitive tools, this is stuff like, having a mindset coach. Hello, hi, Mike and I are here, right? Working through the thoughts in your head, journaling it out, maybe recording a voice memo to yourself to verbally ventilate, but you need to work on this and this. You cannot do one without the other, okay? If you could think your way out of a pattern, you would have done it by now, which means you have to work with this as well, okay? I already talked about that. Okay, so let's keep on going. Does anyone have any questions thus far? I feel like this is all pretty spot on, but I wrote it. So let me know if you're confused. I actually said this to Amara the other day. Grief is love that has no place to go. That shit hits hard. Grief is love that has no place to go, right? Because now it's like, I have all of this. Can't think your way out of shit. Sorry, just reading the chat. I have all of this love that normally would go to this specific person, but that person is no longer in my life. And so it's like the love is just there. The memories are just there, but there's no more reciprocity because that person is gone, right? So the point of this is to just recognize what's happening inside of you when you are processing losing someone, okay? It's not that you're weak. It's not that you're codependent, right? We jump to codependency so quickly, it's ridiculous, even when it's true sometimes, right? It's not that you're stupid. It's not that you can't handle this. It's that grief is love that has no place to go. And the faster you realize that, you're going to be a lot more compassionate with yourself. You're going to have a lot more grace for yourself in this process. We all want to be a badass, but real badasses cry. That part. That part. The goal is not to get over and forget the person, right? The goal is to adjust to who you are without that person in your life. I'm going to say that one more time. The goal is to adjust to who you are without that person in your life. This is really hard when it comes to relationships, right? Because, I mean, like romantic relationships, because, excuse me, when you're in that dynamic, you guys tend to do everything together, right? You show up for each other constantly. You hang out all the time. You talk all the time. So when that person is stripped away from you, it's like, who am I without that person? It's almost like an identity crisis. I've gone through it. It's hard. Okay. So notice, how can I get to know myself again? Who am I without this person in my life? Not because I'm trying to ignore that I miss them. No. But I need to get to know me again, because if I can be fuller with just myself, then the grief is going to be easier to live with, because grief is something you learn to live with. It doesn't just magically go away. That would be like me saying, I don't miss my dad anymore. He's been dead for 20 years. I don't miss him anymore. That's a bold-faced lie. I have learned how to live with the grief. There's a big difference. Okay. Oh baby, yeah, guys, I told you I came to play today. I came to fucking play. Get ready, because it only gets worse from here. Also, remember that grief allows us to experience duality. Okay. Duality. I've been saying this word a lot this year. Grief says, this pain hurts really bad. And also, not but, and also it's evidence that I experienced love and deep connection with that person. Grief is also a gift. Grief hurts so bad because we have so many good memories with that person, because we've experienced so much love and deep connection within that dynamic. So on one hand, grief is really fucking hard. On the other hand, grief is a blessing. Because while I can be in pain about missing someone, I'm also so damn happy that I have these memories, because it reminds me of what loving them felt like. Okay? Duality. Guys, we can experience duality as humans, and it's not talked enough about, which pisses me off. Grief is a gateway to gratitude. Let's go. Coach Mike in the chat. Grief is a gateway to gratitude. Okay? Because we experience duality. One of these days, I'm going to do a call on duality. Okay? But duality is just, you can experience more than one emotion at a time, right? If you're angry, you can also be understanding. If you're sad, you can also experience gratitude. If I'm frustrated, I can also have clarity. Does that make sense? So do not limit yourself to one specific emotional frequency, because you have the capacity as a human to experience more than one at a time, which is why grief can be a beautiful thing if you learn how to live with it the right way. Okay? All right, awesome. You guys are great listeners today. All right, let's go to some emotional processing. Mind shifting, the idea of, yeah, 100%. Grief is not all bad. It's a gift. So emotional processing, guys. This, yes, it pertains to grief, but it also just pertains to emotions in general, the stuff that we tend to avoid, or maybe we just don't know how to process it and we need support, which if you're in this group, you have the support. Plot twist. Book a damn call. Okay, great. When it comes to emotional processing, we are processing things that maybe we experienced a few years ago. Maybe you had a situation where you messed up, or you failed, or you were really embarrassed, right? And instead of dealing with that and sitting with that, you chose to push it away. Maybe you become dissociative. Maybe you just numb yourself. Maybe you, again, suppress it altogether, right? But the more we can welcome in these memories and this pain of that experience, the more we are increasing our capacity. The more capacity you have, the more you can do in life, the more you can feel in life. the more enjoyable life actually is. Most people are miserable in life because they don't have enough emotional capacity. That's really just it. Okay. If you're like, Ashley, what the hell is emotional processing? Emotional processing is approaching, accepting, feeling, regulating, making meaning of, and utilizing or transforming emotions. Okay. So all the shit you guys don't do enough. Why is the emotion here? What is it trying to show me? Where is it coming from? How can I process this better? What do I need to give myself to release this? All of that. We should be doing that every single time we have an emotional reaction to something, even if it's small. I could get off of a work call. Maybe a client said something really triggering to me and it pissed me off, right? It wasn't a big deal, but to me, it was a big deal. And I got triggered. I could easily push it to the side and say it's not a big deal. The client wasn't upset about it. But I'm going to sit here and ask myself, I wonder what this is teaching me. I wonder why that triggered me. I wonder what exact emotion I'm feeling. Is it actually anger? I don't think it's anger, because anger is actually a byproduct emotion. What's underneath that? Oh, I feel judged. Great. Now I can actually process this. It took me 30 seconds to process that, when most people will push that shit out of their reality for the next 10 years. And then it'll bite you in the ass later, right? So we want to process everything that comes into our reality. It's not as exhausting as it sounds if you do it intentionally, okay? Emotional processing does not mean I need you to cry for an hour every day. It means I need you to feel your shit. That is the superpower, okay? We have been raised in a society that looks at emotions and feeling, right, as weaknesses, when in reality, processing emotions is a superpower. You know how I know it's a superpower? Because the most emotionally intelligent people in the world are the happiest, right? Are the most grateful, are also some of the most successful people. This is why we do it. Just to put a little spin on that, emotions, we call them emotions, right? Emotions, feelings, two different things, but let's talk about emotions right here. Emotions were named this way specifically. Emotion, energy in motion. That's what an emotion is, right? So if the literal scientific definition is energy in motion, this lets us know and gives us immediate insight that we should not be storing and pushing the emotions down in our body. If you feel the emotion, you have to get it out of you, because emotions are supposed to be moved out of you. Energy in motion. Emotions are energy. You are energy. This desk is energy. This cup is energy. Everything is energy. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It is only transferred. One of the most basic law of physics, right? So if my emotions are energy and I don't process them, what are they going to do? They're going to stay stuck and stagnant, and it's going to show up in different ways in my life. And I'm going to be a really, lack of better terms, shitty person. Okay. I'm speaking from experience also, guys. So we are literally not built to keep things inside. That's not how we're built physiologically, right? Without processing them, they remain stuck and stagnant inside the physical body. I feel like I've recommended this book at least 1,000,000 times by now. But I'm gonna bring it up one more time. If you think I'm trying to be woo-woo with this, I'm not. This is science. This is quantum physics. This book right here, The Body Keeps the Score. Okay. If you want to understand all of this better and how we physically store trauma and emotions in our body and it manifests as things down the road, give this book a read. The Body Keeps the Score. Okay. Mike, drop it in the chat for me, will you? Who keeps writing on my screen? What's going on here? iPhone 11, chill out. Anyways, The Body Keeps the Score, guys. Okay, moving on. So stuck energy, mind you, stuck energy, stuck emotions, whether it's sadness, depression, anger, doesn't matter. Stuck emotions. Stuck energy manifests as anger, victimhood mindset, depression, jealousy, hatred, restlessness, poor sleep, appetite changes, fatigue, frustration, brain fog, gut issues, inflammation, autoimmune deficiencies, and so much more. Okay? You ever went to the doctor and you've been feeling like shit for years? And they're like, oh, we ran your blood work, you're fine. And you're not. You feel like shit. This is why. Okay? This is why breath work is so powerful, because it allows us to fully process these emotions out of our body so we can get back to a peaceful state of homeostasis, right? Anytime you are avoiding your emotions, your body is dysregulated. which pulls you away from homeostasis. That is the body's only goal, is to maintain homeostasis. Breath work, baby. Yeah, that part. By the way, guys, the book is by Bezel Van Der. I'm gonna put that in the chat because no one's gonna remember that. Okay. Makes you feeling better, MD. So knows what he's talking about. Go ahead and grab that book. You can put it on Audible too. So this is another big reason why, I think for me, probably not a good reason, but this is probably the main reason why I process my emotions. Because I've already had the experience of seeing them manifest as physical ailments, and it's not fun. But that's honestly one of my biggest drivers, to feel my emotions, whatever comes up, even if it's small, because I don't want it to manifest into something bigger down the road that's going to cost me a lot of time, energy, and money. I'm going to deal with it right now. Okay. Again, probably not the best reason, but that's my reason. It's okay. Don't worry about it. You're all good, guys. And Mike just dropped the book in the chat, so grab that. All right, so processing emotions allows you to release pain and identities so you are capable of experiencing more joy and peace, something that unfortunately is rare at present, okay? We don't heal to be able to handle trauma more. You know how to handle trauma. We heal to experience joy and happiness, right? You guys can drop this in the chat if you have. Don't lie. Full transparency here. Has anyone here ever experienced a prolonged period of time where you didn't judge yourself, you didn't hate yourself, you loved yourself unconditionally, you didn't worry about tomorrow, you didn't worry about the past, right? There's no scarcity mindset, there's no fear-based action, you're just existing in presence, and you actually feel fully grounded and happy. Have any of you ever experienced that for longer than a day? Probably not, right? Exactly. This is what gets you there. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys and blow smoke up your ass and say that I experience this all the time, constantly. No, I'm a human, right? But I experience this more now on a consistent basis than I ever had before in my life, because I emotionally process all of my shit. It allows me to be more present and grounded, so that I'm not worried about what's going to happen tomorrow or 3 months from now or 2 years from now. I'm worried about what's happening right now. Right now, I have air in my lungs, have a roof over my head, I have money in my bank account, I have food in my fridge, I have friends that love me, I have emotional awareness. I am fucking thriving. And that is literally all happiness is. This is why we deal with our emotions. All right. Let's go over some steps on how we can work on emotionally processing. If this is not something that you're used to, or something that you want to get into and you're not actually sure how to, yeah, look in the chat, guys, everyone in the chat, most people have never ever experienced that feeling of happiness and joy before. That's why we process our emotions, to be able to experience more joy. We don't do it to be able to handle trauma better. You know how to do that. That's easy. That's why most of you work really great under pressure or chronic stress, because you're used to the trauma. I want you to be used to the joy and knowing that you deserve it. So here are some steps for emotional processing, guys. If I were you and this is something that you're like, I do think I need to start doing this, take a picture. It's the last bullet point here. Take a picture of that, save it to your notes. I don't care, share it, go for it. Step number 1, become aware of the pain or emotion in the moment. Step number 1 is awareness. We know that, right? So become aware of the pain or emotion. Number 2, what is the emotion? Sometimes we can't immediately identify it. We're like, I'm not sure. Sit with it. Don't say, well, I don't know. Fuck it. No, sit with it. Just be there for a moment. Okay? Identify the emotion. 3, where is it coming from? This is my favorite question to ask myself when I get triggered. Where is this coming from? Okay? Because now I can identify it. Now it's tangible. Where do you feel it in your body? Most of the time when we get upset or triggered, we might feel it in our throat or our chest, maybe our belly. If I'm angry, like my ears get really red and hot, my hands get red and hot. Where do you feel it in your physical body? This is evidence that emotions are energy. That's why you're feeling it, okay? Identify where it is. 5, if it had a voice, what would it want to say? Once you find that emotion in your body, where is it at? It's in my throat. Okay, cool. If it had a voice, what would it want to say? And you sit with it until you figure out what it is. You don't say, oh my God, I don't know. Sit with it. This is processing, right? And then lastly, how can you nurture this and allow yourself to release the pain? Because that's the only way we're going to get through it. Because you can be overly self-aware and never actually heal yourself. And we don't want that. So yeah, still that, take it, use it all the time. Okay. I'm going to quickly go through this one because I'm taking up a lot of time here, guys, and I want to get you out of here on time. Now, this is for the people who have suppressed a lot of shit in their past and have refused to feel it for whatever reason, doesn't matter. But now that we're talking about this, you're like, yeah, I think that I might need to feel that. Yes. That used to be me too, Matt. Like, I was just extremely self-aware until I actually started like taking the step forward. So I think it's a natural part of our healing journey when we become more aware. But the issue is most people get stuck there. They're just overly self-aware of fucking everything, but don't actually do anything about it. We don't want to get stuck there. Okay. Grieving something you suppressed in the past. So first and foremost, let's just give you a little scenario, okay? Let's say you suppress an emotion and experience from your past. Lately, you've noticed that it keeps coming up in your reality in some way. Maybe you keep having thoughts about it, flashbacks, dreams, maybe some people come into your reality that like, present a similar, situation or concept. And you're like, oh my God, I don't want to deal with this, right? What you resist will persist. What you resist will persist. Until you learn your lesson and actually heal that thing, it's going to keep on coming back. So that is your sign. I need to go in here and do some damn work. Okay? It doesn't mean I'll just do something else to numb it away. No, if it's coming up, it needs to be addressed. Okay? What are you trying to avoid by not feeling that? What are you trying to avoid? Be honest with yourself, because that is what's holding you back. You didn't move on because you didn't cry about it. That's ridiculous. You just dissociated from it. So what are you trying to avoid? Ask yourself that. This next part I'm going to quickly read through. So guys, please take a picture of this. Okay. If you need to grieve something that you've been suppressing, take a picture of this. All the steps are here. But this is what you're going to go through, this specific process. Steal this. I use this with clients sometimes. So steal it. Take it, please. iPhone 11, I swear to God. So I need you guys to intentionally create space for yourself, the process. Okay. And yes, you can. I don't want to hear, well, I don't have time. Yes, you do. We all make time for the shit that matters. We all have 24 hours in a day. You can do it. You might not be able to do it today or tomorrow, or maybe even this week, but you can do it. So create the space. Step number 1, set up a cozy and quiet space. Okay. Don't do it when your family's around or your partner's around and it's loud as fuck. Set up a cozy and quiet space because you don't need to be distracted. All right. I personally like to play some soft meditation music. I will light a candle or an incense, maybe both if I feel like I really need it. But I want it to be very cozy. Have a journal nearby. If you don't live alone, then I would definitely recommend some headphones. Okay. Step number 2, either lay down or be seated somewhere comfy that has back support. The point of this is you want to be using as few muscles as possible. Mike, this is something I yell at him about sometimes. Use as few muscles as possible, guys. When we're trying to get into a meditative state, the more muscles you're using, the more you're avoiding fully dropping into your body. Okay, so that's why I preface this so much. Now, gently close the eyes down. Okay, if they flutter a little bit, that is okay. If you don't meditate a lot, this is going to be new for you. So don't worry about that. Then you're going to take 5 to 10 deep breaths to tap into the parasympathetic. Okay, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Do not shallow chest breathe. Big breath in, big breath out. Do not shallow chest breathe when you do this. Okay, you want to tap into the parasympathetic nervous system. The way to immediately tap into it is to deepen your breath. Parasympathetic state is our rest and digest. This is when we're happy, we're chill, we're calm, we're relaxed. Most of you on this call live in sympathetic state all day, every day. That's your stressed out state, okay? Let's not live there anymore. It's going to mess you up down the road. So deep breaths. It's not some woo-woo shit, guys. It's science, okay? The deeper you breathe, the more you're tapping into your parasympathetic nervous system. Step number 3, keeping those eyes closed, visualize in your mind that you are either in that moment of the pain or a moment right after where the thoughts and feelings are still very fresh. Okay? Allow all of those emotions to come up. When they start to bubble up, maybe your eyes water, maybe you start to shake because you're angry. Don't pull out of it and just say, well, fuck this, I'm not. No, if the emotions are coming up, you're doing it right. Okay? Let it come up. Let it be there. Let the emotions take up space. You might cry. You might tremble. You might have temperature changes. You might feel tingly. You might get lightheaded. You might get a headache. I get headaches a lot when I do breath work. This is normal. Don't panic. Stay in it. Okay? Step number 4, notice that past version of yourself, the one that's in that memory. Notice that version of yourself experiencing all that pain. What does he or she need to release? What do you need to release, that version of you? Ask yourself that in the moment. How can you support yourself moving forward to heal from this pain? Okay. How can you stop abandoning your emotional needs? Because a lot of you guys do it all of the fucking time. How can you stop abandoning yourself and putting yourself first? Right. Lastly, slowly, after you have these emotions come up and these realizations, do not just pop back up and go about your day. Slowly come out of the meditative state with some deep breathing, okay? Tapping back into your senses. Maybe you feel the surface beneath you. Sometimes I'll put a hand like directly to skin to tap into that sense of touch, right? Sometimes I might take a drink of water, but lay right back down. Tap into your senses to slowly wake your body back up, okay? And then you grab your journal and you write down the entire experience. This is how you effectively emotionally process grief, okay? This part specifically is for the suppression. So again, please take a picture because I know most of you on this call need to do this. All right, does that all make sense, guys? If you're so confused, please let me know in the chat. I realized that was a lot. Let's just take a second here because we're going to transition to something a little bit different. Maybe just take a couple deep breaths as my chair is falling. Seriously, guys, like if you're in your head a lot, if you're overly thinking, overly analyzing about the shit I just said, I need you to just calm it down for a second. Literally, if you need to, take a deep breath. Maybe stop shaming yourself. Maybe stop getting pissed off because you feel like you've been doing things the wrong way. Maybe stop feeling guilt. Maybe stop feeling fear. Okay? You're a human. You did the best you could with the knowledge you had at the time. That's what I tell myself to feel better. I'm just reading the chat here, sorry. I got to work on the journaling or doing more voice memos. Yes, the audio, the voice memos that you do to yourself, guys, that's like one of the best tools you can use. I tell everyone about that. It's almost like you're talking to a friend, but it's a safer space. And the more you verbally vomit, the more shit is going to come out that you didn't know was up here. So that's why that tool is actually really, really cool. Okay, now that we're all feeling grounded and not so spicy anymore, let's move on. I'm almost done, guys. Okay, let's quickly talk about misalignment in dynamics. Guys, when I say misalignment in dynamics, I mean when you are in a dynamic means a partnership. This does not only mean romantic. This also means platonic. This could be work-related. This could be a friend. This could be an associate. It doesn't matter. But that is what a dynamic is, just to make that very clear, because I say the word dynamic a lot. So misalignment within those dynamics. Misalignment is we're clearly out of alignment. My core values and what I believe in and the respect I have for myself is not something that you are willing to become in alignment with, right? We're not negotiating, right? That is what misalignment is. So respectfully speaking your needs, desires, and boundaries is not asking for too much, guys. I like the amount of times I have to say this is ridiculous at this point. It is the most basic form of respect within dynamics. It is not you're not asking for a lot. The bar is not too high. Your standards are not too high. This is the most basic form of respect. Okay. Boundaries and desires allow us to show up as our most authentic self and live a fulfilled life. All right. And we're not being hypocrites over here. Mike and I have been putting in boundaries and cutting people off left and right the last few weeks. So we expect the same from you. Put in those boundaries. Speak up for yourself. Have some self-respect because you deserve it. If there are people in your life that have an issue with you voicing any of this, you are not in alignment with them, which means that dynamic is only going to continue to do this. So why are we wasting energy? Okay. Every time you shrink yourself for the sake of someone else, or put your needs or boundaries on the back burner for the sake of someone else, you are disrespecting and abandoning you. I love how much we talk about, like, oh my God, this person disrespected me, and oh my God, this person did me so dirty. When you treat yourself the same way. Like, come on, have some self-respect. Stop abandoning your needs for other people. You are not responsible for other people's emotions and reactions. I think I've said that at least 5,000 times in my lifetime already. Yes, 1,000%. In the chat, Mike says that's a form of self-sabotage. The more you abandon yourself and you allow to be disrespected, yes, 1,000%, that is self-sabotage, because you know you deserve better and you're dealing with something that you don't deserve. All right. Misalignment, again, when partners have different values, interests, or expectations for the relationship. This can make it difficult to agree on decisions, resolve conflicts, or feel supported. If you don't feel supported in a dynamic, there's nothing else to discuss. If I've told you more than once that you're not supporting me, or I don't feel supported, or I feel disrespected or disregarded, and you continue to do the same thing, why are we still having this conversation? They clearly don't respect you. Remove yourself. Okay. If you feel misalignment, if you feel the misalignment, you have already voiced that misalignment. You voiced your needs in a respectful way. Guys, it doesn't mean go be an asshole and be rude. No, 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 no. We do this in a very respectful manner. Okay. So if you voice that in a respectful way and you've seen no change in behavior, what other evidence do you need? I need you to realize that you are being disrespected by staying. Whether, again, a friendship, a work dynamic, a relationship, a part, it doesn't matter. Disrespect is disrespect. All right. A lot of times we abandon ourselves. Guys, hear me when I say this, please, 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 please. A lot of times we abandon ourselves in effort to make sure the other person doesn't feel abandoned. What type of bullshit is that? Hello, my people pleasers. And I can call you guys out because I used to be like that as well. Stop abandoning yourself in efforts to make sure that the other person doesn't feel abandoned, because you are literally just repeating the cycle. Okay, does that check out? All right, we're gonna keep moving. I got one more slide to yell, you guys. I think I'm good. I'll just keep going with the self-respect theme. It's my theme lately, guys. Self-respect, come on, have some more of it. Self-respect does not make you selfish. It makes you authentic. It makes you a good person. It makes you someone that other people look up to. That is what self-respect does. Self-respect, the most mundane definition, the ability to value and affirm yourself even when you're facing self-doubt or adversity. Okay? So even when everyone's coming against you and telling you what you believe in or what you need is bullshit, you stand firm in that because you have respect for yourself. Okay? It's a combination of self-love and self-worth. And it can help you form healthy relationships with others, obviously, if you have it. Bingo. And if you want to take it a step further, because you don't believe me, self-worth is the belief that you are valuable and capable and that you deserve to be loved. Respectfully, I love you guys so much. You know this. Respectfully, a lot of you don't have self-worth. And that is why you're stuck in the situations that you're in. So this is an invitation to evaluate that. I'm not coming for you. I didn't have self-respect probably up until like 2 years ago, guys. So I'm not coming for you. But I need you to recognize where you're lacking self-respect and self-worth. The minute you can acknowledge that, audit it, and actually change that behavior, everything in your life changes. I promise you. It's an energetic, dynamic shift. And everything changes the more self-respect you have and the more you walk into alignment with that. You guys are getting it now? Like, is this making sense? Okay. Okay, great. The minute you compromise your beliefs, values, and boundaries to appease someone else because you don't want to rock the boat, you don't want to piss them off, you are literally choosing to disrespect yourself. It's a conscious decision. Well, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to speak up for myself because I don't want to cause any drama. I don't want to hurt their feelings. You are literally ignoring your own needs. You are disrespecting yourself. We are mirrors. We are mirrors. The people you know are mirrors. People that treat you poorly, they're mirrors. So if someone is treating you with no respect, it's because you don't have any self-respect. Period. Because if you did have self-respect, you wouldn't allow that person to be in your life. Everyone's a mirror, baby. Everyone is a mirror. Okay. So I want you guys to evaluate all of the dynamics in your life and notice, where am I not being respected? What changes do I need to make because I have self-respect, or I'm working on developing self-respect? Maybe you don't believe that yet, right? A new thought, positive, downstream thought. I'm working on developing self-respect. Okay. Notice where that shows up in your dynamics. This is your sign to enter your villain era. Guys, please join us. Mike and I have been in our villain era for the last couple of weeks, and it feels great. Please join us. And when we say villain era, we're literally just putting in better boundaries and having more self-respect. So join us, please. It's fun here. Let's go. Let's go, Amari. Caleb, come on, let's go. Guys, you deserve so much more than what you're tolerating in life. You are literally tolerating so much shit, and it is mind-blowing to me because all of you deserve so much more. And you choose to accept the same bullshit day after day after day. And then you wonder why you're in the same rut. It's because what they're doing to you is exactly what you're doing to yourself. And you are repeating the cycle. So until you step up, put in boundaries, push people out, not because you're mean, but because you love yourself unconditionally, right? That's when things change. Okie doke. Okay, great. One last thing here. I gotta say this because a lot of you guys, this excuse I hear so fucking much. Well, they're family. I don't care. Respectfully, I don't care. Time in the game, time in the relationship, age, rank, authority, and blood relation are never, ever valid reasons to allow someone to disrespect you. I shouldn't have to say that, but here we are. I don't care if it's your mom or if it's your dad or if it's your sister, if it's your best friend of 10 years. If you are constantly being disrespected and your boundaries are being walked over, you need to remove yourself. Okay? You have to show people how to treat you. That's the unfortunate truth. Some people are not just good-natured naturally because they have too much trauma. It is your job. It's not their job. It's your job to show people how to treat you. That is no one else's responsibility but yours, right? The minute you leave the house, the minute you leave your parents' house, it's now your job, okay? And that's where most of you guys are failing. You got to show them how you want to be treated. And yeah, they're like, oh my God, they're being so mean. Cool. You can have a poor perspective of me, honey. I do not care because I know my worth and value. I don't care what you think of me. It's just what I think of me. And that is not cocky. That is confidence, self-confidence, self-worth, self-respect. These all go hand in hand. Okay. Now I'm getting the chat worked up. You guys get this shit now? Do you understand what I'm saying now? Okay. I need you guys to break the fucking cycle. All of you, your job after you get off this call today is break the goddamn cycle. No one is going to do it for you. We can show up for you, Coach Mike and I, the people that love you and do support you and respect you in your life. We can support you, but you have to make the change. Okay? Self-respect and self-care is saying no, especially when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Like, oh, I don't want to put in this boundary. Well, he's my boss. And the fuck? So you're going to be manipulated by someone that pays you? Baby, money is endless. There's so much money in the world. There's no shortage of money in this fucked up world. Trust me. They print it. There's no shortage of money. Speak up for yourself. I don't care who that person is. You deserve respect, not because you earned it. Self-respect is just a given, right? So the more you respect yourself, other people are going to respect you too. Mirrors, 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 mirrors. Everybody, take out your phone, take a picture of this last slide, this last thing on here because we don't have time because I talk too much. I want you guys to answer this. Coach Mike, hold them accountable to answer it. The last bullet point, take a picture of it. Amara, you too. I want to see it on our next call. Where are some places in your life that you aren't being respected? How will you claim your power back in those dynamics? Take a picture or write it down. I need that to be answered, please. Where are some places in your life that you aren't being respected? How will you claim your power back in those dynamics? I got one more. It's just prompts. Don't panic. And then you're done. They are literally printing it. Anthony took pictures of all slides. Let's fucking go. All right, one more slide, guys. This was gonna be one where we sat and journal, but we're already over on time, and I'm so sorry. So just take a picture of this. Once again, you will be held accountable to it. If you guys know Mike, you know he's not gonna come off your ass until you do what he wants you to do. So take a picture, answer these. That sounded messed up. You guys know what I mean. So prompt 1, and this is in direct relation to your goals, right? One of your goals should always be to become the better version of you. So this is directly correlated to your goals. Goal number 1, are there any experiences or emotions from my past that I need to deal with and heal from? Everybody on this call, that's a yes. So what is that experience? How do you need to heal from it? Number 2, what areas of my life am I experiencing misalignment in? Audit yourself. This is not an opportunity to bully yourself, guys. I shouldn't have to say that, but I do. It's an opportunity for you to have more clarity and better capacity. What areas of my life am I experiencing misalignment in? And then lastly, what dynamics in my life am I not being respected in? Really call yourself out here, dude. Seriously. And lastly, where am I abandoning my core self? Nasty work. And when I say core self, guys, core self is the version of you that you know is inside here, and you're trying every fucking day, fighting like hell to be that person. We call it future self or highest self, whatever you want to call it, right? But where are you abandoning that future self? Okay. And that's all I got. Does anyone else need that last slide, or did everyone take a picture of it? Beautiful, beautiful work. All right, cool. Everyone got their pictures. Awesome, awesome. Okay, cool. All right, well, I'll get out of here. If no, screen won't let me. There we go. All right, guys, what did we learn? What were our takeaways? All the fun stuff. Mike, if you gotta go, go, babe. You're good. I got it.
Everyone share, I'll be back if I can, but I gotta go. Love you all, bye.
Okay. All right, guys, what's up? Takeaways, thoughts, comments. I don't want to cuss me out for calling you guys out so bad. You're so welcome, Caleb. I'm so glad I got to see you. Lots of good food for thought. Absolutely. Yeah, I think we all need to work on self-respect in some capacity, guys. It's everyone in the world. Yes, emotions and feelings are different, guys. Emotions are the actual emotions like sadness, joy, fear. Feelings are what you feel in your body, right? Like we've, for some reason, I don't know why, in the psychology world have mingled the two, and they're very different. It's physical feeling. Like if I have the emotion of anger, I feel it in my head and my ears. That's the feeling. So yes, there's a big difference. The thought of grieving a future or what you thought was going to happen, that shit is hard. Yeah, it sure is. That's probably for me personally, that's the hardest part, is like that future is now gone. That's the hardest thing we're grieving. Does anyone else want to share or ask questions?
I think the big thing I like was show people how you want to be treated.
Yes,
That was that hit hard. And I agree with Dylan too. The future of what you thought was gonna happen and things you thought not gonna be happening, that shit hit hard. That was the one that definitely stuck in the brain.
Yeah, I was thinking about you when I wrote that one for sure. Yeah, 1000%. Was someone else gonna go? What's up, Matt? You're unmuted. I can't hear you though.
I guess my headset. Do you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say like the whole future planning, like that grief, and the kind of just identifying like the emotions associated with it really can like build or break down the self-respect, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I was just kind of like, well, I see where technically I think I was like here, but in reality, if I really objectively look at it, I've been always like at the bottom.
Sure.
While always everybody else is at like a pedestal top.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So
yeah,
that
that's one of the things I got.
putting everyone else above you as far as respect.
Yeah, and it's like that's gonna be a hard thing to work, but that's something I'm working on, right? Yeah.
Yeah. You're doing the work. You're doing the work, dude. You got this. It's just time. That's it. Your success is inevitable.
Yeah.
Yeah. John says, so it's okay to be a little conceited. That is not what I meant, dude. No, there's a big difference between being conceited and being confident. There's a big difference, John. Now, honestly, John, it might work in your favor just a little bit to be a little conceited, given the things you're working through. But no, guys, there's a big difference between being confident and cocky, for lack of better terms, right? Confidence is I don't need to prove myself to you because I know my worth and I'm gonna stand firm in that. And then conceited is more so like I need to express that to everyone else so everyone else knows that. So it's almost like an exchange of validation, if that makes sense. That's the difference between conceited and confidence. So, but yeah, nice one, John. Good call. All right, guys. I know I kept you over. I don't need anything else from you. If you guys don't have any last questions, I'm gonna let you go. So, yeah, beautiful call. Thank you for showing up. If you guys, Villain Rising, let's go, baby. Let's go. If you guys have any questions or you need anything else after this, please reach out to me, message me, DM me. We will be changing call availability next month, so I will have more calls available for all of you. In regards to literally anything. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night. I love you all so much, and I'll see you later. Bye.